Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of Tech Talk Weekly. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the different types of IT audit, assessment, and GRC tools. So essentially, this is a part 2 of our video from last week where I talked about GRC tools for audit and compliance. So some of you don't know this, but I do have an email list that I send out emails to at least once a week. And last week, when I sent them the email about the video on GRC tools, I got a lot of questions, which is why I decided to do this follow-up video. Because the reality is there are many types of GRC tools, and last week I was just talking about one category. So today I decided to go a little bit deeper so that you guys can learn a little bit more. So let's go ahead and jump into the training video for today. So the reality is there are different types of tools that are used for different things when it comes to IT audit assessments and GRC. You don't just have the tools that I shared last week, you have multiple tools based on what they do. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to share with you 3 categories of tools that I use for IT audits, assessments, and GRC in general. So let's take a look at what those 3 categories are. So the 3 categories that I'm going to share with you today are program management and documentation, security assessment, and data analysis. What do I mean by this? So what I mean is that you have tools that you use for managing the entire program or doing the documentation. You have tools that are used for the actual security assessment, and then you also have tools that are used for data analysis. So depending on what part of the project you're in or what you're working in, you may need to use tools from one or more of these categories. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about the tools for each one of these areas. So the first category is program management or documentation. And these are tools that are used to manage the overall audit program or GRC program, as well as the documentation of the results and things that are related to it. And this is what I shared with you guys in the prior video. So if you've not watched that video, check for the last video where I talked about the different GRC tools. So I walked through Diligent Highbond so you can see how that's used to manage your audits. You also have RSA Archer, ServiceNow, Audit Board, Metric Stream, and Teammate, and all those other tools. Those are typically used to manage audit programs or GRC programs, and they are also used for the documentation aspect of that, okay? So it's important to know that you have those tools categorized as your program management or documentation tools. Let's look at the next one. If you're on the more technical side, you might need to use security assessment tools. And there are many security assessment tools out there, guys. There are many security assessment tools out there for different systems and things like that. But I'm going to just give you 2 areas: vulnerability management and penetration testing, and application code reviews. So when it comes to performing vulnerability assessments or pen testing, you have tools like Tenable, Qualys, Wireshark, and there are so many other different ones out there if you do a quick Google search. But these are very good popular ones that I've seen a lot in a lot of the big firms where I've worked. And this will be used to assess the system. So this will go into the system to do an assessment, and then they essentially give a report of the results. And so pen testing, usually there's a manual aspect to it and there's the automated aspect to it. So you'll see that some of these tools are able to accommodate the need for both sides when you're doing the pen testing. Another area for application code reviews, we have examples like Veracode, Snyk, or Visual Expert. And again, there are many more, but essentially those tools are used to do a code review. So code reviews or application reviews in general are checking for security at the application layer and of course in the code to make sure that there are no security vulnerabilities or issues in there. And that's what you'll have these tools do. So when you're performing security assessments, you could use tools like Tenable, Qualys, Wireshark, Veracode, Snyk, Visual Expert, or CrowdStrike, or any of the other tools out there to perform your security assessments. And the third category are the data analysis tools. And for data analysis tools, you have Microsoft Excel that you can use, SQL, or things like Power BI. And I put Microsoft Excel first because it's really, really comprehensive. You can do a lot with Microsoft Excel. And in fact, Microsoft Excel actually has some add-ons from other tools that actually make it stronger. So for example, Diligent Highbond, I told you guys last week, it used to be ACL. ACL was a very good data analysis tool, and now they have an add-on to Microsoft Excel. So as part of what we get in my program, when you have, because we have Diligent Highbond, we actually have that plugin, the add-on rather, to Microsoft Excel. So now students don't just use the Microsoft Excel, they get the option if they wanted to also use the ACL add-ons for data analysis. So I love Microsoft Excel because it can do a lot. But of course, you can also use SQL. I've used SQL before in a prior role where the database guy wasn't always interested in giving me data. So we would just, so I just got an account, right? And I was able to, through Toad, get access to the database, and then I will just run my SQL scripts in there to get the data that I needed and to analyze whatever data was already in the database. And Power BI is a Microsoft tool that also can be used for data analysis. All right. So to summarize, we've discussed different types of tools here today, and we broke that up into 3 categories: program management and documentation tools, security assessment tools, and data analysis tools. And all of these together, right, can be used for various aspects of IT audit, assessment, and GRC. So again, there are different types of tools that can be used for IT audits, assessment, and GRC in general. And the ones that you would use will depend on your role, kind of what you're doing, or you might need to touch a little bit on all of them. Again, it just really depends on what you're doing in the field. All right. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope it kind of shed a little bit more light after last week's video, because I know some people might have had questions. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below. And in general, if you want to learn more about IT audit and compliance, you can download a free guide that I have. The link to it will be in the description box below. Thank you, guys.